And we're live.
All right.
So,
So
let's
Michael,
talk about this piece of crap. No, I'm kidding.
oh, don't you fucking dare, man. So Michael, to start off this review, I wrote a list of Hamilton songs that made me cry because I wanted to compare and contrast with your list. Are you ready?
You mean? I'm kidding. No, I'm not gonna be that guy that's gonna stir the pot for no reason. No. Just kidding, people. Just kidding.
I
Put down your pitchforks.
I'm not kidding, though. I actually did write that list.
All right, go. I don't know all the songs by name because this is literally the first time I've ever watched it. Period.
That's fair. It
yes.
goes Alexander Hamilton, Helpless, Satisfied, Dear Theodosia, the Lawrence Interlude, which gets me every time, One Last Time, Stay Alive Reprise, It's Quiet Uptown, and the finale number, Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. Just that part about the orphans. Sorry, I literally get worked up about it. Okay.
Of that list, I recognized Helpless. Okay, so a little background for me before I get into this. Like, I have not been one of the people following the Hamilton craze. Like, I recognize it as an important piece of art, and like something that everyone just loves the shit out of. And it's like, cool, I will never be afford to see it. So that was kind of my mentality. So going into this, I knew next to nothing about it. So keep that in mind. The only thing I knew about it was just that people said it's really, really good. Now that I've said that, I can say, yeah, it's really, really good. It lives up to the hype. It is a masterpiece. There you go. Before people so you can put down your pitchforks now. It took me a little while to win me over. I'm not gonna lie. Because the first one, the first mistake I made, the first time I tried to watch this, I had an edible.
God, why?
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
I need to hear more about this story.
So I want to say about 15 minutes in, I'm getting really annoyed because I'm like, why is everyone like praising this Hamilton guy? Wasn't he kind of douchebag? And I realized, like, wait, I'm thinking of Jefferson. And that's when I realized I need to turn this off and come back to it when I'm sober.
Jesus Christ. Oh, dude. Like, probably the worst time to take an edible is before watching theater of any...
Well, this isn't like I took it and decided to watch immediately after. Like, I was in it and I decided to watch Hamilton.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
And then, like I said, like 28 minutes in, I'm like, I need to watch this later.
So, like, when you watched it sober, did you start it from the top or just take it from where you left off?
I started the whole thing over because, like, okay, I need to look at this with fresh eyes because apparently I was mad because I thought they were, like, praising Jefferson for a while. So...
Oh, man.
It's like, I like Washington, my brain says.
Thomas Jefferson. My name is Thomas Jefferson.
Oh God! No, now it's gonna start. Don't get us like pulled for copyright, man.
It's a parody. It's okay.
Yeah,
there's like a big long list. There's like a big long list of Hamilton parodies on YouTube. We should be okay.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. I don't want to fight that fight, man.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I want to be indifferent. Anyway. Okay.
We should title this review, Michael Tries to Stay Neutral.
It's more like I try to stay relevant. So I don't really know like what kind of nuance I can add to the discussion on this play because it has been talked so much for so long before this thing before its finally release on Disney Plus. I mean, from what I have gleaned over and kind of researched before watching, it's a big deal in terms of representation and who actually gets cast in this thing, and who plays all the main characters, and that is a very, very big deal.
Oh,
One thing I kind of realized watching it early on, and one thing I kind of had to let go, or I had to let go, was like, okay, this is not really based on historical fact.
not completely, no.
Not completely. I was like, okay, I have to recognize that this is largely based on American mythology.
Uh,
Um, like there's facts,
little bit
there's
of both.
facts in it.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. Like a lot of stuff that happens is factual, but the way it's presented and kind of glossy and
Yeah.
definitely kind of pumping up the the myth of America. It's like, okay, yeah, it's playing on the American mythology. It's definitely good for representation, but it's not trying to threaten what's what I'm looking for.
Threaten the establishment.
They threaten the establishment. Yeah.
Mm.
I thought the ways they tied in like current events and current struggles and kind of implying that nothing really changes. I thought all that was very, very clever. And of course, I also appreciate the touch that the only person who gets like the most traditional Broadway song is the purest white person.
Oh yeah.
Touches like that I really appreciated. So I can definitely appreciate this for the work of art it is. But I will admit I did have to let go of some hangups while I was watching it. Because like especially with like George, like the interpretation of like George Washington, like he was a great man. It was like, yeah, he fought really hard to keep his slaves though.
Yes.
Yeah, like I mean really fucking hard. Like I just watched something about.
Like even at the time though, that was also like the American perspective of George Washington. Like the guy was like 6'2", which was insanely tall for people in that time period. And not just that, but he had like this big, larger than life legacy around him. Like basically George Washington was like the subject of Chuck Norris jokes back in the late 1700s.
Yeah, so that's what I mean.
Everybody knew he was badass.
Yeah, well, look, that goes back to they were just building on American mythology rather than American fact, because George Washington was also not a very good general either.
Oh yeah, he wasn't that great. A lot of his victories were actually like sort of akin to other people saving his ass in little ways. Like Hercules Mulligan, historically, he was kind of a spy in the sense that he heard a British plan and then sent someone to inform Washington beforehand. There were a lot of times the British could have captured Washington, but they were prevented from doing so by just kind of random small pockets of rebels, things like that.
Yeah,
Like little stories like that that a lot of people don't hear about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I think for me, I kind of had put it in like, first of all, this is much better than the example I'm going to compare this to before
he used to get drunk with people and essentially kidnap them into his army. So, it's kind of hard to write a musical about everything about George Washington.
Yeah, or at least tell and like again, that's why I'm saying it's based on historical mythology. It's definitely pumping up like what we kind of hold standard, what we kind of cherish about America, and it's definitely pumping up those ideas while still sneaking in elements of multiculturalism, representation, fighting oppression, all those themes in there. So it's really kind of toeing the line between kind of pushing the establishment, but not enough that it's going to feel threatened. Because otherwise you would never be able to make a giant Broadway smash.
Yeah. I'd also like to point out, though, that I don't think it was the intention of the musical to, like, sort of call, like, the establishment into question. Essentially, the whole thing is a biopic.
In a way, but in doing so, it does bring up a lot of socio-political issues. With oppression, with, like, slavery or taxes or government or anything along those lines. A lot of topics do come up and they are explored, and you can kind of see little snippets where they're trying to dig into it a little bit, but again, not enough where, at least as I personally saw it. I'm sure other people who like watch this a million times have much more detailed analysis than I do, will be able to go more into it. But from what I saw like they're very much towing the line between like how much can we get away with, which is again how I saw it. So like if we just make the most caricature rich white boy we could possibly fathom and sneak him in. He's very entertaining, by the way. And just throw him in there now and again. We can kind of get away with criticizing the smaller bits about the current American socioeconomic policies.
Are we still talking about King George?
I'm more using the like I'm using that as they kind of use that as the red herring while they investigate other things wrong with America. If that makes sense.
I think it feels like a bit of a reach to me.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I've done plenty of talking. You say stuff.
Yeah, like really, like the biggest appeal for me, like I mean, I've seen the show. I actually managed to see the show twice, in San Francisco. The first time was like a gift that I will never be able to pay back, and the second time was because a friend of mine like told me that there were like $75 tickets on a website. So I was like, oh shit, I gotta get that. But like essentially, I feel like the biggest draw of Hamilton is just kind of like, I mean, for one thing, like the best part of the whole thing is the music. Like the music is absolutely phenomenal. Like I was first exposed to it when I was in college, and like everybody was talking about it, so I figured I'd give it a listen. And like I do this whenever I listen to a new musical, where I listen to the music on YouTube while I have like the Wikipedia synopsis on the other side, so I can follow what's happening. Because with a lot of musicals, there's like book scenes in the middle, but Hamilton doesn't have that. It is all music.
Yeah.
And like the music is just so goddamn good.
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
Like, oh god, like the amount of, like I said, the amount of songs I've learned from this show is unhealthy.
Why has that not surprised me, Theater Boy?
I mean, hey man, you know, you thought of me when someone asked you to review Hamilton, so you know, like I gotta earn that reputation.
That's not an insult.
As being the theater guy. So probably talking more about like specifically about the Disney Plus presentation though.
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone was not on silent. I thought it was, and I was wrong.
Anything.
More specifically about the Disney Plus presentation, like it was definitely like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like I mean, technically I'd seen it twice before. Like the show is very similar to the times I've seen it live. To a point where it even confirmed, like, well, it actually disproved something I thought the first time I saw it, where it was like, I saw it the first time with my brother, and it was like, I think the actor playing Aaron Burr has a lisp. But then I saw it on Disney Plus, and I was like, oh, okay, I know Leslie Odom Jr. doesn't have a lisp. That's a character thing. Like, that's a specific thing.
That's apparently been the same cast throughout?
Huh? No, different casts.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the San Francisco cast, very different from like the main Broadway cast. And like, what was it? It was actually kind of funny how we were talking so much about how George Washington is misrepresented, but he's like my favorite part of the whole show.
Oh yeah, he's great in the show.
Yeah, seriously. Like
I'm not like whenever I talk about that kind of stuff, I'm not knocking any of the characters.
Yeah. Like you definitely had to kind of, like you kind of had to get into some suspension of disbelief, like with Hamilton, if you're like really into history and stuff, because there are some names that are changed around here and there, like the thing about where people were threatening Hamilton about embezzlement in We Know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like in the show, it's with Jefferson, Madison, and Aaron Burr, but like historically, it was actually James Monroe. Like I think was also in that group. But I think one of the things that Hamilton did really well was keeping the story within the show simple. Like, you know, the whole thing is a biopic.
Relatively. I still think there was a lot of layers to this in terms of what I was trying to discuss.
Yeah.
But sorry, like, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, yes, there are a lot of layers, but it's like, how do I explain this? There's something about the way the show is designed specifically. Like when you watch the first number, you see everybody's like in these like kind of white outfits, like these very neutral white outfits. They sort of look like they're from the time. But, you know, as the show goes on, like, you know, you pick up that the choice behind this was so that whenever ensemble had to be somebody else, or when like they had characters like play different roles from Act 1 to Act 2, where the guy playing Lafayette was Jefferson in Act 2. Like it was a really simple change of costume that would easily make that, you know, like more accessible to people. They'd be like, oh, he's not Lafayette anymore. He is Thomas Jefferson now, because now his coat is purple.
I mean, that's not unusual for plays like this, though, isn't it?
I'm just getting started. Like, it's also in like the scenic design. Like a lot of the like most of the stage for the most part is like very, once again very neutral, but they're able to throughout the dances actually bring in and out set pieces to like sort of help establish like setting and like where things are happening specifically. Like they have a desk that they wheel out for offices. They have lamps that they wheel out for streets, but you barely notice these transitions because they happen within the choreography.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things, like this is like one of my favorite background things, is like it was during Guns and Ships, which I know for a fact you remember because it was badass. Where
Oh yeah.
Bluff was speed rapping that one, you know the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, where Washington wrote a letter, he hands it to Lafayette, he hands it to someone in the background, and then that person hands it to someone else, and it just kind of gets handed off between people. And there's this one point where it like gets handed off really quickly to a point where I'm like, they either got really good at handing off that envelope, or they just gave everyone an envelope and had them choreograph the handoff.
I mean,
And
that's
it's
also
like,
entirely possible.
it's little things like that that's just genius. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mhm. But but yeah, like there's a lot of simplicity in the design, which helps people like sort of suspend their disbelief when they're watching the show, because it's like it's very easy to like sort of pick up information from stuff.
Oh yeah, like the one I kind of compared it to in my head in order to just kind of get past like, okay, yeah, suspension of disbelief, just go with it. Was and like I was gonna bring this example up earlier. The Greatest Showman.
Oh man.
Granted, this is way better than
Oh,
Greatest
that
Showman.
one. Yeah, this is way better than Greatest Showman, but Greatest
I'm not
that
gonna argue,
definitely
but like, but that.
just
But yeah, it goes in the category. It's like, yeah, you can't go in this movie thinking you're gonna get a real life P.T. Barnum. You're just not.
absolutely not.
And if you think that way, if you think that way the entire way through, you're just gonna be mad. So, so that's once I got into that mindset, I got into it more. But I see what you're saying with this. It has a very simple framework, but I don't think it's a simple story.
I may have been exaggerating a bit when I said simple story, because yeah, there's a lot going on.
Like I said, because it is a biopic, so it has a straightforward narrative structure. But it again, the ways it goes about it and what it tries to throw in there is not all that simple.
Yeah.
Especially once he starts having entire song sequences dedicated to taxes or the how the treasury works.
I mean, technically, I don't think those are the focus of the song, but more about Hamilton's effort into getting the taxes and the treasury to work.
On. I read the lyrics. They're about how the treasury works.
Which song? Which song?
It's when it's the rap battle between not Thomas Edison, Thomas
Surprise
Jefferson.
Cameo.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, like whenever Thomas Jefferson and Hamilton are going back and forth, it's almost always about taxation of the South versus power reached over to this treasury. And I'm like,
that's what they're saying.
Like,
but what you're also seeing. Oh yeah.
It's like, to me, it felt like watching the Star Wars episode that's about the banking clan, you know? This isn't what I expected, but okay.
I mean, it's like, that's the other thing about theater is that, like, there's like a lot of things going on at once. Like, one thing I was taught in theater is that oftentimes, whenever people are talking about something, they're also thinking about something else. It's sometimes about the things that they don't say, or just like the way that they say what they're saying to the other person. Like, they're talking about taxes, but Hamilton and Jefferson just hate each other.
Yeah, that's the interplay going on, but they hate each other because of taxes. And at the end of the day, you eventually got to realize that's still what the song's about. And there's even an entire song dedicated to the fact that they're just really good at getting laid, you know?
Oh yeah. I made a joke where what was it? You ever heard of 1776?
The year?
There's a musical. It was written in the 60s called 1776.
Have you heard of the year 2000, Matt?
Oh God. It's about John Adams and other members of the First Continental Congress trying to get the Declaration of Independence written and signed. And like, there's so many songs throughout that musical where they're just singing about, God, I'd like to do the work, but I'm just so horny right now. Like, that's some of the music in that musical. So I was thinking like Hamilton is like the antithesis of that, where it's like, we're going to sing about how much sex we do get. And it's just like,
Yeah, no, I can see that.
yeah, they're either founding fathers, they're either getting laid or they're not. God help the audience who watches like the first big Benjamin Franklin musical,
Oh
and
God.
not Benjamin Franklin Goes to Paris. That one's boring as shit.
Wait, that's a
But
real play. That's
yep,
a real.
also written in the '60s.
That sounds like a terrible like off-brand Disney ripoff.
I could not get through the soundtrack. It was really boring. But we're not talking about Benjamin Franklin Goes to Paris. We're talking about Hamilton, which is
I kind of want to talk
absolutely.
about Benjamin Franklin Goes to Paris.
You'd think it'd be exciting because Benjamin Franklin was like a total party animal, but the
I mean, it's
musical,
not even like.
it's it's just really tame in comparison. I'll leave it at that.
I'm kind of curious. Track down a copy of Benjamin Franklin Goes to Paris. What's the follow-up to Lincoln Goes to the Alamo? What's that?
I mean, Benjamin Franklin
actually.
was
That's
in
kinda
Paris
great.
for quite some time during the Revolution. Like he was with Jefferson helping get French aid.
That makes sense. Yep.
But I think they like put a love story in the musical or some shit like that. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I did not get through Benjamin Franklin Goes to Paris.
Like one of the ones like "Fly My Kite into Your Heart" kind of thing, or.
Like I said, I barely fucking remember, man. I only heard about this musical years ago, like for school, and then I was like, God, this is boring as shit.
I'm just intensely fascinated by this.
Michael, please don't be, because I know nothing about Benjamin Franklin Goes to Paris. Please don't make me keep talking about Benjamin Franklin Goes to Paris, you monster.
But there's so many layers.
There aren't. I don't know where to go with this topic.
So you're saying it has a simple story.
Stop. Go away.
Okay, I'm done. But yeah. So Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
But no, like all the acting is superb. All the choreography is brilliant. Like I said, outside of just the suspension of disbelief issues and kind of getting a while to get to the real meat of the story, when I feel like kind of adds like more complexity to Hamilton as a character, which I feel like it kind of doesn't for a while,
I mean,
at least in the first
like,
act.
a lot of the. Oh, sorry, I've interrupted you.
No worries. I was gonna say like largely in the first act, I should say. Like once the actual like he joins George Washington's army, that's when it kind of like okay, here's the character development. Here is less of just look how strong and steadfast and convincing Hamilton is, which is why I felt like I was going for up to that point. But once it crushes that first, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Here's the character study. Here's the intrigue. Here's a lot of paperwork and a lot of pamphlets and stuff I now need to look up online. Because like
I mean, I will bet that if you look up historical accuracy of Hamilton, you will find so many documents on it.
Oh, I already have.
Okay.
I did a quick Google search, like, okay, how accurate is this? Kind of getting that idea of things, and I know they largely drew from historical fact. I think really where the main kind of suspension of disbelief is going to be just on the characterizations of certain American mythological icons.
Yeah.
Like I go back to George Washington because he's always the one, like in any media, he's always the one that's kind of more glorified as this great hero.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm fine with that. I'm not like illegitimately upset about that before anyone like again just shoves that down my throat. Because I know Hamilton has a vehement fan base. But that being said, I think it is worth acknowledging that there is a discrepancy there. Honestly, I felt like the one that kind of got a little more talent actually was Jefferson, oddly enough.
How so?
Well, they do actually mention that he did have a shit ton of slaves.
Even references one of them in What Did I Miss?
And that he was kind of a jerk.
Oh yeah.
So like, okay, so at least popping that bubble a little bit. John Adams, for as much as he's mentioned in this play, is kind of stern not appearing in this movie.
Yeah. Oh
which
yeah.
I thought was kind of surprising.
Although I'm a little upset personally because there was apparent like in the off-Broadway version of Hamilton, the Adams administration rap, like, or the part where the Adams administration, where like, what was it? It just kind of cuts off at Hamilton saying, "Sit down, John, you fat motherfucker," and then it bleeps out "fucker, motherfucker," because that's you can't swear on, you can't. I don't know. It was like, I mean,
Yep.
actually, no, it's more of a timing thing. Which
Uh,
also, "Sit Down, John" is a reference to 1776, which I thought was hilarious.
I'm
It's one of
glad you
the.
caught that.
Oh, anyhow, there was like an extended version of the Adams administration song that was in the off-Broadway version that didn't make it to the full cut, which I'm upset about because it was badass. But seriously, I literally memorized it. I would do it for you right now, but I don't know what kind of copyright witches are after me.
No, I'm good. We don't need that
Okay,
here.
that's fair. Fair enough.
You know how I feel about in-car karaoke.
Mm-hmm. What was it?
For context for that joke, for those wondering, for like the first 3 years, Matt and I were friends. Every time he would be in my car, he would start saying something. I would get him with the same goddamn joke every single time.
I mean,
And it took you 3 years to catch on and go, not this time, you motherfucker.
I finally got a comeback for you. I finally got it.
But that was one of 2 jokes I used against you relentlessly until you finally just told me shut the fuck up. One was just a classic, like, who sings that? Oh, so-and-so? Let's keep it that way. Son of a bitch.
Just like, God damn it. Because every time you asked me that, I was like, my brain is like, oh, he wants to know what I'm singing. It's like, I thought you were genuinely curious.
I know, that's the trap.
Oh, God.
And the other time was always the time, and I still laugh at this sometimes, was always when those god-awful theater commercials started playing.
Oh, you.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Whenever we were sitting in the movie theaters back when we saw movies in theaters, my friend Gavin calls it BC, before Corona. Anyhow, yeah, fuck. Yeah, we would see a trailer about a bunch of theater people doing that Pitch Perfect cup song thing, but it's about going to the movies. And Michael would just be like, "Hey, man, that's going to be you." I'm just like, "Fuck you, Michael." Those actors will make more money than I ever will. So it's just like...
I kind of doubt that, to be honest. Let's be honest. That's their shot at fame. That's.
I mean, at least they're getting paid for commercials.
This is true. Anyway, memory lane aside.
Anyway, let's step away from crushing my dreams for a second and get back to.
You're doing good for yourself, man. You're doing good.
I'm doing my best.
You're directing plays. You're doing good shit.
Thank you.
But yeah, maybe one day you'll direct a play as good as Hamilton.
You're funny.
Maybe you already have. Don't shoot yourself down, man.
Oh yeah, I am totally waiting for my Tony Award for the best assistant directed production of Seussical Jr. Actually, the show was pretty great. Not gonna lie.
See, there you go.
I am extremely proud of those kids.
I keep forgetting you're younger than me. You have plenty of time to work your way up.
Oh, oh man. What else can we talk about Hamilton? It's
Not
weird because
really.
because here's the thing: Hamilton has been talked about like a lot. So it's like, it feels weird to try bring anything new because it's like, I mean, everyone knows it's great. Like, you've either seen it. Like, I mean, now everybody's probably seen it. It's on Disney Plus. But
yeah. So, I mean, even the reason we're talking about it today is not because I didn't want to talk about it. It's because it was reminded to me by a fan of ours who specifically requested us to watch it.
Ooh.
I'm Kara Polkra 20 specifically requested us to check out Hamilton. And I was like, well, I've never seen it, and that sounds like a good way to get some views, so let's do it. Fuck
it. Surprise, clickbait.
And I'm glad I did. I am genuinely glad I did. It was worth the experience. Even though I will admit I had my cynical glasses on, like, okay, great Broadway show, show me what you got. Let me put on my skepticals. And after about like 30 minutes in, I'm like, all right, yeah, it's pretty good. There was a part it got a little too
I
real
told
for me.
you the list of songs that make me cry. Of course it's good.
There was one part it got a little too real for me, but other than that, I was like, yeah, okay, this is pretty good, right?
Which one?
Helpless got to me, I will say, but very context specific reason.
That one is so sweet. Oh wait, but I remember now your context specific reasons. But
yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is shitty timing.
Oh boy, let's not open that bag of worms. Unless you want to, but let's not.
Oh no.
Fair enough.
That's as far as I'm going with that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, like as far it just makes me miss theater. I miss so much about the old world.
Yeah. You and me both, man. You and me both.
It's like when I was playing Last of Us Part 2 and I just kept thinking, I want to go back to Seattle so badly.
Oh yeah. Just every time I watch a play, just any play, this is probably, I think a lot of actors do this, where you watch a play and you start thinking about how you would say the lines that the actors are saying.
Oh, we've all done that. Let's be honest.
It's like, well, that's not quite my cadence. I would have put the emphasis on that word or something like that.
And every one of us, and we're all douchebags for doing it, take on a piece to take an audition for that exact reason.
Oh yeah, don't bring Hamilton to auditions, because, like, trust me when I say this, casting directors are sick of it.
I believe it.
Yeah. It's like when Cats, like the theater show, first came out in the 80s. Like, everybody's audition song was Memories. So, that was the big song back in the 80s, was Memories from Cats.
See, I would do that from audition, but I would pick the worst song and just sing shit out of it.
Oh,
like, I totally want to go to audition and just go, milk!
Okay, Michael, I got a question for you. Of the whole Hamilton show, what is your favorite part? What's your favorite part?
I mean, it's hard to say because it's a 3-hour fucking musical.
I know, there's a lot.
And I just watched for the first time, period, right before we start recording. So, I don't know. I need to sit down and think about it a little while. I don't know off the top of my head. What about yours?
Yeah, it's cool, man. This is going to be a 40-minute video, so it's all right. You got you got 4 minutes.
Why don't you tell me yours? Maybe that'll jog my memory.
We can wait while you think of something. It's okay.
I don't want to have 4 minutes of dead air. Why don't you tell me your favorite part?
Oh shit! No, I gotta narrow it down.
It's not so nice when it happens to you, is it, fucker?
Yeah, I know, seriously.
And you've watched more than me, so.
Oh my god, dude! I've told you about the unhealthy amount of songs from this show I've memorized. My favorite part. I have. Okay, my favorite part. And it's funny because we also spent so much time shitting on Washington, but I love One Last Time, where he's announcing his retirement from the presidency. That is such a good song for such a good character, as far as the show is concerned, because in real life Washington was kind of an asshole. But like, in the context of the show, he is a really good character, and it's an amazing send-off to him.
Okay, fair enough.
My favorite is Guns and Ships, because that is badass.
Guns and Ships is pretty good.
Oh. Red goes red with blood stains. Lafayette. Okay, I'm done.
Who sings that? Okay. It's not that I don't know yet. That's the honest answer I can give. Again,
that's fine. You don't have to answer it right now. Everyone, leave in the comments what you think place your bets in the comments. What is Michael's favorite part of the musical? And he will announce it at midnight or something.
Oh Jesus!
Or, I'm just fucking with you.
I don't need that kind of pressure, man.
Do it. Make a list in the comments.
I don't need it.
List every song from favorite to least favorite, and just put them all as number one, Michael.
And I'll just be going through the list, going, "Oh God, which one was this one?" Because I'm terrible with names, always have been. I'm like, that was the song names too. It's like, what's your favorite song? Oh, you know the one that goes, da, na, 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 na. I don't know. But yeah, no, like at this point, like I feel like if you've watched this video, you've already probably made up your mind about Hamilton. It's not like you're watching this going, should I watch this? You've probably already seen it.
Yeah.
So it's more just
you've listened to the whole soundtrack like I have.
Yeah, so it's like this is more just reaffirming what you already know about it, which is a great show.
Mm-hmm.
And you can rest easy knowing that I guess 2 random people on the internet still like it too. So
Actually, my second favorite song is a tie between Guns and Ships and Your Obedient Servant, which is like where Hamilton and Burr are just kind of gently shit talking each other over the mail before they duel and kill each other.
Oh yeah,
it's fun. I like that one a lot. Yeah.
But yeah, beyond that, I can't think of a whole lot else to talk about. I feel like we talked about everything that's kind of worth mentioning at this point. It's a great musical. It's a big deal in terms of representation and production. And everything about it lives up to the hype.
Yeah.
Like,
it was actually a funny story about how it was a big deal for representation. They were like having nationwide open casting calls for other productions of Hamilton, and one of them was for San Francisco. So that flyer was floating around San Jose State for a little while, and what was it? I was like looking at it, and it was all like, okay, preferred non-white actors. I'm like, I can respect that. I have no problem with that, but apparently it was like super controversial. But like I told my dad about it, and he was just like, really? And I'm like, yeah, And he's like, so you're saying you're too white to play a founding father? Yeah. It's one of those things you never really expect, but I'm okay with it.
What do you mean I'm too white to be Jesus?
God, imagine if more actors could say that. But yeah. I mean, even when like there was like a big outcry from a bunch of stupid entitled white actors, it was like they only changed the wording to from no, or what was it, no white or non-white casting to ethnic casting encouraged. But when I saw it in San Francisco, I'm just like, yeah, the only white person here is King George. I'm just like, I know what it's just like,
and maybe like a couple extras.
It's like, white people, please calm down. Not everything has to have a whole bunch of us in it. Just
I know at that point it's like, okay, we'll let you audition. You can sing your fucking cat song.
Fuck you! I'm drinking water. Oh God!
We're not gonna pick you, but you can audition.
Oh yeah.
All right, what's your song today? Milk. Get out.
Oh God. Yeah, that's all I got on this, man.
Yeah, that's all I think I got too. So yeah, that's our thoughts on it. Hamilton is still really good.
Yep.
I think we also got another request from the same guy to watch another movie.
Oh, what is it?
That is currently on Netflix.
Oh, what is it?
It is the Willoughbys.
Oh, I've heard of that.
The one that's about the movie about like gingers who want to murder their parents.
Yep. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know I haven't heard if it's good or bad, but I've seen the trailer.
Yeah, I watched the trailer as far as I got, and then also no request for the Phineas and Ferb movie when that comes out. But I know jack shit about Phineas and Ferb, so I don't know if I'm gonna.
I know a little bit about Phineas and Ferb, but it was kind of after my generation. But
yeah, it was definitely when I want to say stopped watching cartoons. Like, bitch, you watch Steven Universe all the time. It's like, okay, yeah, touche.
Yeah. Although, if you want a cartoon recommendation, Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts is fucking amazing.
Way ahead of you. Way ahead of you.
Perfect. All right. Season two? What's up, season 2?
I've watched all the way through season 2. Yeah.
Fuck yeah! All right.
So, moral of the story: do not watch Hamilton High.
Yep, that's the takeaway.
And we'll leave it there.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
And, hold on. You had one more. You had one more recommendation for a movie to review, Michael.
Hmm?
You have.
I do.
Yeah, someone recommended another movie to you, Michael. This is the after credits sequence.
Okay, I'm a little concerned. Oh, right.
I sent it to you. Remember?
Right. So Matt has convinced me. Okay, I say convinced, but really it's more like, do you want to do it? And I said, fuck it, sure. To
Verbal
watch
linguistics later.
To watch the Velocipaster. Because what else am I doing in my life right now?
Did you see the trailer?
I have not watched the trailer. I think I'm gonna go into it cold.
All right. I haven't seen the movie yet, but the trailer is absolutely fucking magical.
I've seen the poster. That's all. I think that tells me everything I need to know about the Velocipaster.
Just wanted to make sure to get that out of there.
Yeah, so we'll check that out when we get a chance. Oh Lord. And I'm guessing Muha will do something in the near future too. But
all right.
In the meantime, guys, thank you guys for watching. See you later.
Toodles.